Perfect. Wonderful. Okay, we are here. This is See Through. It is your podcast with me, Achuta Gopi. Thank you all for being here. If you are regulars, thank you. Good to see you again. It's been some time. If you are new, welcome, welcome. I hope that you have a really good time. Here is where we check in with each other. We help each other see through the spiritual things and the difficult times and the spiritual context for all of these things. And we get to read and go on adventures with Krishna, our dearmost friend, while we do it. And I don't think that there could be anything better than that. I like to do these podcasts on a Monday because no one likes Mondays, but we are making them better. We're making Mondays great again. And we have been reading Krishna book and journeying through the story of the life and pastimes of Shri Krishna. Because how else do we get into a really, really close relationship with someone other than finding out about them? So here is where we get to spiritually stalk our supreme bestie so that we can become obsessed with our supreme bestie. Believe me, this is something that they want, you know? My sister has a saying, it's not stalking if you like it, which is really true if we think about it. It's not actually stalking when we like it. The difference between stalking and a loving infatuation with someone is just that the person likes it. When they don't like it, then it kind of turns into stalking. So here we are building a much welcomed obsession with our supreme bestie. And I'm so glad and so eager that I get to do it with all of you. We have been reading from Krishna book. And if you have a Krishna book, please feel free to read along. If you do not have a Krishna book, it is available online for free on the Bhaktivedanta database website, which I will be posting for all of you in the YouTube chat box. If you are wondering why I'm just saying the YouTube chat box, that's the link to Patreon. We also have a Zoom room where everybody gets to interact with me lively like. And that one, the link for that is also in the chat box. There we go. Perfect. So now we are ready to begin. Previously, we had gone on many adventures with Krishna and Balaram and all of their friends. They had killed a few demons, namely one that looked like a big bird, crane, duck monstrosity, dinosaur demon. It's very big, very frightening. And one that was in the form of a calf. So they were killing demons big and small, just wholesale. These demons were sent by Krishna's uncle, Kamsa, with the exclusive intent to kill him. It's not like, oh, it was a mistake and we didn't know what we were sending the demons for. No, he knew. And he was actively trying to kill his nephew. And so Krishna has been retaliating by saving his life and the life of all those that he holds dear that live within this beautiful land of Vrindavan, a land which is still accessible and available to all of us. So not only is Vrindavan an actual place located within India, within Uttar Pradesh, but it is also within our minds, within our hearts. Krishna's abode is always available and there for us. So let's see where we are headed today and what adventures we will be going on. We are beginning with chapter 12, the killing of the Agasura demon. And what's this life without a little background music? So now, once the Lord desired to go early in the morning with all his cowherd boyfriends to the forest, where they were to assemble together and take lunch. As soon as he got up from bed, he blew a buffalo horn and called all his friends together, which I think is really adorable. That's like the sweetest alarm clock you could ever have. Krishna playing his buffalo horn. And a lot of these boys were already awake. They were already that eager to go and see Krishna. Keeping the calves before them, they all started for the forest. In this way, Lord Krishna assembled thousands of his boyfriends. They were each equipped with a stick, flute, and horn, as well as lunch bag, and each of them was taking care of thousands of cows. So these are thousands of boys, and imagine you've given them all recorders. You know that recorder, the flute that you get when you're in the 3rd grade, and they teach you how to play a song called Hot Cross Buns, or like Three Blind Mice? Now imagine you've got thousands of these boys, and they're all 5 years old, maybe going on 6, maybe some of them are a little bit older, and all of them have flutes, and they're all playing them. And I can only imagine, it sounds transcendentally a little bit like, you know, that audio meme where you have like someone playing the Titanic theme song on a recorder, but not well. I feel like it would sound transcendentally a little bit like that, because they're boys after all. And Krishna is nothing if not thorough and really true to what he does. So when Krishna and all of his friends at 5 are gonna play flutes, Krishna is good. I wonder if the rest of them are as good. So all I can think of is such a commotion of all of these boys with their sticks and their flutes and their buffalo horns, and they've got lunch packs, and everybody's very excited, and they've got all the cows, and the cows have bells, you know, cowbell, and they're all tinkling and making noises, and they're all walking, and it's got to be an adorable sight, but so much. There's a lot going on. And the parents were going to allow these thousands of 5-year-old boys and children, and in that age range, 5 to 8 or so, to go wandering through the forest. Childhood was built different back then. Even now, if we think about sending kids out to just hang out in the street, you know, a lot of people would think, oh, that's ridiculous, but actually it's kind of how I was raised, you know, go outside, don't come back in till it's dark, and stay close. And we made it. Sometimes I wonder how, but we made it. So all of these thousands of children are headed into the forest for a day with Govinda. And this is all that they want. This is all they want. The littler boys have to stay home, and they are inconsolable every day, because all they want is just to be old enough to please go outside with Krishna. I think that this is just the sweetest thing. So, they were taking care of thousands of calves. All the boys appeared very jolly and happy in that excursion. Each and every one of them was attentive for his personal calves. The boys were fully decorated with various kinds of golden ornaments, and out of sporting propensities, they began to pick up flowers, leaves, twigs, peacock feathers, and red clay from different places in the forest, and they began to dress themselves in different ways. So they would pick up a little twig or a little flower, and they'd place it on Krishna, and then they place one on each other, and then they place it on their friends, little flowers and feathers and leaves, and boys just being happy children. While passing through the forest, one boy stole another boy's lunch package and passed it to a third. And when the boy whose lunch package was stolen came to know of it, he tried to take it back. But one threw it to another boy. This sporting play went on amongst the boys as childhood pastimes. So now they're playing keep away with each other's lunches, or monkey in the middle. When Lord Krishna went ahead to a distant place in order to see some specific scenery, the boys behind him tried to run and catch up and be the first to touch him. So there was a great competition. One would say, I will go there and touch Krishna. And another would say, oh, you cannot go. I'll touch Krishna first. Some of them played on their flutes. There we go with those recorders again. or vibrated bugles made of buffalo horn. Some of them gladly followed the peacocks and imitated the onomatopoeic sounds of the cuckoo. So onomatopoeia is one of those things that you kind of learn when you're little. It's like all the sounds that make sounds, like boom, crash. Or in this case, if we're following the sounds of cuckoos, it's cuckoo. Or if you're following the sound of a peacock, you make the sound of a peacock. So that's onomatopoeia. So all of those sounds. While the birds were flying in the sky, the boys ran after the birds' shadows along the ground and tried to follow their exact courses. So I just see little boys running with their arms outstretched like their wings and trying to run after the path that the birds will take. How amazing that children were just children. But these are divine personalities. Who can imagine the caliber of personality that gets to be friends with Krishna, that gets to be his intimate associates? These boys were not normal, and yet they very, very much were. What differentiated them was that they were completely entranced with being Krishna's friend. And so I say to you, Krishna's friends are not normal people, which means that none of you are normal. You are not ordinary. You are extraordinary because you are Krishna's friend. How can I ever imagine the caliber of personality, the qualifications that it's taken, the years of austerity or tapasya or meditation that it has taken to come to this point where we gather together just to read about Krishna, where we make space in our day. We've set aside time in our day. We've put down whatever else we were doing and we've run here just to somehow make space for Krishna, to talk about our friend, to be friendly with Krishna. This is no small feat. And I thank you all so much for being here, because it's a miracle. You all are extraordinary and special. So some of the boys went to the monkeys and silently sat down by them. If any of you have been to Vrindavan and you have seen the monkeys, this is special, because you also know, if you've seen the monkeys, that they are rascals. But these boys were fearless, and this was just part of their everyday lives. So some of them sat down silently by the monkeys, and some of them imitated the dancing of the peacocks. Some of the boys caught the tails of the monkeys and played with them. And when the monkeys jumped in a tree, the boys also followed. When a monkey showed its face and teeth, a boy imitated and showed his teeth to the monkey. Okay, now this is actually a challenge. But the boys were fearlessly playing. Fearlessly playing, why? Because Krishna was their friend and Krishna was there. But if any of us have been to Vrindavan and you know, if a monkey shows its teeth to you, you should walk away. Stand down. Unless you are really, really, really knowledgeable. But these beautiful cowherd boys were afraid of nothing, because Krishna was by their side. All right. When a monkey showed its face and teeth, a boy imitated and showed his teeth to the monkey. Some of the boys played with the frogs on the bank of the Jamuna, and when out of fear the frogs jumped in the water, the boys immediately dove in after them. And they would come out of the water when they saw their own shadows and stand imitating, making caricatures and laughing. They would also go to an empty well and make loud sounds, and when the echo came back, they would call it ill names and laugh. Ill names means they were cursing at the echo coming back from the well. because these boys will be boys. So I just find it so incredibly charming to see the activities of all of these boys, transcendental and yet at the same time so normal. So sometimes we think when we enter into spiritual life, we can't be normal anymore. We can't just have fun anymore. We can't do the mundane things anymore. But here, Krishna is showing us how transcendental and spiritual life sometimes is just about living. It's about living naturally with the understanding and the mindset always that Krishna is my friend. Krishna is always there for me. Krishna is with me at all times. Sometimes that is the only thing that differentiates normal life from spiritual life. Just remembering that Krishna is here. As stated personally by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the Bhagavad Gita, he is realized proportionately by transcendentalists as Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here, in confirmation of the same statement, Lord Krishna, who awards the impersonalist Brahman realization by his bodily effulgence, also gives pleasure to the devotees as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those who are under the spell of external energy Maya take him only as a beautiful child. Yet he gave full transcendental pleasure to the cowherd boys who played with him. Only after accumulating heaps of pious activities, those boys were promoted to personally associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who can estimate the transcendental fortune of the residents of Vrindavan? And this is what I was saying. Who can estimate the transcendental fortune of those who gather just to hear about Krishna? This is no small thing. Friends, you have done the best thing for your day just by making room to be eager to hear about Krishna. Just even the desire to want to make it is huge. Just the desire to want to make it to these gatherings is a big deal. And I want to thank you all for being here, because these podcasts and these wonderful gatherings would not actually but be possible without you. It would be just me reading to myself, which I have done. But it's so much more fun when I get to read with all of you. So these residents of Vrindavan were personally visualizing the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. He whom many yogis cannot find, even after undergoing severe austerities, although he is sitting right within the heart. This is also confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. One may search for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, through the pages and pages of the Vedas and Upanishads. But if one is fortunate enough to associate with a devotee, he can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. We might think, what hope do we have? We have Srila Prabhupada. By associating with Srila Prabhupada through reading these books, Srila Prabhupada has promised us that if we read these books with faith, every page that we open, we will see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. That's my hope. That one day my reading of these sacred literatures becomes so involved, so intense, that I'm no longer reading, I'm seeing these pastimes unfold before my eyes. Where I open these pages and we are in Vrindavan. Maybe not in New York or the Pacific Northwest or the Midwest or Virginia or India or anywhere else. We will be in Vrindavan, that eternal Vrindavan which is always manifest, which has beautiful dust-filled roads with dust that feels like velvet, with wish-fulfilling desire trees with crystals at their roots, where every sitting place is made of precious stones, where there are cowsheds with emeralds in the rafters, that Vrindavan. I am so eager that one day I will open these pages and I will read them and I will be there. No matter where I am physically, I will super physically be in Vrindavan. So this is the goal, and this is what is possible for all of us. It's not just like, oh, that's a pipe dream, that'll never happen. It can happen. Srila Prabhupada has promised us. So if one is fortunate enough to associate with a devotee, he can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. This is a promise. After accumulating pious activities in many, many previous lives, the cowherd boys were seeing Krishna face to face and playing with him as friends. They could not understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or rather, would not understand. Due to Krishna's illusory potency, they would not understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they were playing as intimate friends with intense love for him. I want that to be the mission statement of my life. Krishna, I may not know what you are as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I may not be able to grasp the inconceivable nature of who you are, but I want to deal with you as an intimate friend with intense love for you. If I can just do that, that'll be fine. My life will be perfect. When Lord Krishna was enjoying his childhood pastimes with his boyfriends, one Agasura demon became very impatient. He was unable to see Krishna playing. So he appeared before the boys, intending to kill them all. Now, unable doesn't mean that he couldn't see Krishna. He was not able to tolerate Krishna having all this fun. Right? He was unable. It's intolerable. How could Krishna be having all of this fun? So now we'll see. He was unable to see Krishna playing, so he appeared before the boys, intending to kill them all. This Agasura was so dangerous that even the denizens of heaven were afraid of him. Although the denizens of heaven drink nectar daily to prolong their lives, they were afraid of this Agasura and were wondering, when will this demon be killed? The denizens used to drink nectar to become immortal, but actually, they were not confident of their immortality. On the other hand, the boys who were playing with Krishna had no fear of the demons. They were free of fear. Any material arrangement for protecting oneself from death is always unsure, but if one is in Krishna consciousness, then immortality is confidently assured. The demon Agasura appeared before Krishna and his friends. Agasura happened to be the younger brother of Putana and Bakasura. Putana, we heard, was a witch that Krishna killed when he was about 3 days old, and Bakasura was the demon that he just killed that looked like a duck, crane, bird, monstrosity, dinosaur. So, this younger brother of Putana and Bakasura, like there's a whole family of demons, like they've got lineages, they got siblings, parents. Which parents gave birth to these demons? Maybe we'll find out next week. So Agasura thought, Krishna has killed my brother and sister. Now I shall kill him along with all his friends and calves. Agasura was instigated by Kamsa, so he had come with determination. Agasura also began to think that when he would offer grains and water in memory of his brother and kill Krishna and all the cowherd boys, then automatically all the inhabitants of Vrindavan would die. Generally, for the householders, the children are the life and breath force. When all the children die, then naturally the parents also die on account of strong affection for them. Agasura, thus deciding to kill all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, expanded himself by the yogic siddhi called Mahima. The demons are generally expert in achieving almost all kinds of mystic powers. In the yoga system, by the perfection called Mahima Siddhi, one can expand himself as he desires. The demon Agasura expanded himself up to 8 miles and assumed the shape of a very fat serpent. Having attained this wonderful body, he stretched his mouth open just like a mountain cave, desiring to swallow all the boys at once, including Krishna and Balaram. He sat on the path. The demon, in the shape of a big fat serpent, expanded his lips from land to sky. His lower lip was touching the ground, and his upper lip was touching the clouds. There is a very adorable puppet show, which has a song that goes along with this Agasura demon and talks about how his wide open mouth is just like a cave, right? My lip is in the sky, my jaw is on the ground. Anybody who knows it will be singing along, and if you don't know it, I'll put the link to the YouTube for the puppet show in the description boxes at some point, because I feel like everyone should have access to this kind of joy in their week. So, his jaws appeared like a big mountain cave without limitation, and his teeth appeared just like mountain summits. His tongue appeared to be a broad traffic way, and he was breathing just like a hurricane. The fire of his eyes was blazing. At first, the boys thought that the demon was a statue, but after examining it, they saw that it was more like a big serpent, lying down in the road and widening his mouth. The boys began to talk amongst themselves. This figure appears to be a great animal, and he is sitting in such a posture just to swallow us all. Just see, is it not a big snake that has widened his mouth to eat all of us? One of them said, yes, what you say is true. This animal's upper lip appears to be just like the sunshine, and its lower lip is just like the reflection of a red sunshine on the ground. Dear friends, just look to the right and left-hand side of the mouth of this animal. Its mouth appears to be like a big mountain cave, and its height cannot be estimated. The chin is also raised, just like a mountain summit. That long highway appears to be its tongue, and inside the mouth, it is as dark as in a mountain cave. The hot wind that is blowing like a hurricane is his breathing, and the fishy bad smell coming out from his mouth is the smell of his intestines. Then they further consulted among themselves. If we at one time, entered into the mouth of this great serpent, how could it possibly swallow all of us? And even if it were to swallow all of us at once, it could not swallow Krishna. Krishna will immediately kill him, as he did Bakasura. Talking in this way, all the boys looked at the beautiful, lotus-like face of Krishna, and they began to clap and smile. And so, they marched forward and entered the mouth of the gigantic serpent. Meanwhile, Krishna, who is the supersoul within everyone's heart, could understand that the big statuesque figure was a demon. While he was planning how to stop the destruction of his intimate friends, all of the boys, along with their cows and calves, entered the mouth of the serpent. But Krishna did not enter. The demon was awaiting Krishna's entrance, and he was thinking, everyone has entered except Krishna, who has killed my brothers and sister. Krishna is the assurance of safety to everyone. But when he saw that his friends were already out of his hands and were lying within the belly of a great serpent, he became momentarily aggrieved. He was also struck with wonder how the external energy works so wonderfully. Imagine, when Krishna saw that his friends were already out of his hands and were lying within the belly of a great serpent, he became momentarily aggrieved. We are all out of his hands. We decided to journey out of this spiritual realm and enter this material existence. Imagine how aggrieved Krishna has been watching us journey lifetime through lifetime. Not only have we been journeying through lifetimes, but we've been steadily telling Krishna, no, I don't want your help. Don't help me, I'll do it myself. I have to do this on my own. I have to be the master of my own fate. Imagine how sad Krishna must feel. Wanting to save us, wanting to be there for us, wanting to stop us from this calamity, and yet also wanting to do what we want. And so as we say, no, no, Krishna, I've got this. I will do this on my own. Krishna sadly steps back. All right, I'll allow you to handle it. But this doesn't make us happy. It doesn't give us any joy. He was also struck with wonder at how the external energy works so wonderfully. He then began to consider how the demon should be killed and how he could save the boys and calves. Although there was no factual concern on Krishna's part, he was thinking like that. No factual concern means he wasn't actually worried. He shouldn't have been worried. He's a supreme person, and yet his illusory energy is working even on him, so that he feels such concern and love for his people, including us. Finally, after some deliberation, Krishna also entered the mouth of the demon. When Krishna entered, all the demigods who had gathered to see the fun and who were hiding within the clouds began to express their feelings with the words, "Alas, alas!" At the same time, all the friends of Agasura, especially Kamsa, who were all accustomed to eating flesh and blood, began to express their jubilation, understanding that Krishna had also entered the mouth of the demon. While the demon was trying to smash Krishna and his companions, Krishna heard the demigods crying, "Alas, alas!" And he immediately began to expand himself within the throat of the demon. Although he had a gigantic body, the demon choked by the expanding of Krishna. His big eyes moved violently, and he quickly suffocated. His life air could not come out from any other source, and ultimately it burst out of a hole in the upper part of his skull. They say that everybody has this, right? If you ever see babies, their skulls are very soft. And they science says that their skulls are soft and there's like a little gap. And this is so that the skull can kind of contract when the child is coming out of the birth canal, because heads are big, right? And has to be soft and flexible. And so the skull is soft and flexible so the baby can come out through the birth canal. The Vedas say that this is the place where the soul enters and sometimes exits. So that soft gap, as the skull hardens, that gap is still there. So for Agasura, his life force, his soul exited through that hole in the top of the skull. Spiritual science. I kind of love it. It's like my nerd moment. I don't actually like regular science. It kind of makes my brain do weird things. But the Vedic science, the spiritual science, I can get down with that to a certain extent. So it burst out of a hole in the upper part of his skull. Thus his life air passed off. After the demon dropped dead, Krishna, with his transcendental glance alone, brought all the boys and calves back to consciousness and came with them out of the mouth of the demon. So the friends were unconscious. In many cases, they say, due to the poisonous gases within the stomach of Agasura and his stomach acid, the boys had actually died. Which we've said this before, and I'll say it again. It brings new meaning to the phrase, "But did you die?" In the case of Krishna's friends, the answer a lot of times is yes, they died. But luckily for them and for Krishna, Krishna happens to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he can bring them back to life. I say luckily for the cowherd boys because they got their lives back, and I say lucky for Krishna because he would have been in really big trouble if he had lost all of his friends to certain death and come back home without them. That would have been a problem. And so Krishna, merely with his glance alone, brought all of the boys and calves back to consciousness and came with them out of the mouth of the demon. While Krishna was within the mouth of Agasura, the demon's spirit soul came out like a dazzling light, illuminating all directions, and waited in the sky. As soon as Krishna with his calves and friends came out of the mouth of the demon, that glittering, effulgent light immediately merged into the body of Krishna within the vision of all the demigods. The demigods became overwhelmed with joy and began to shower flowers on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and thus they worshipped him. The denizens of heaven began to dance in jubilation, and the denizens of Gandharva Loka began to offer various kinds of prayers. Drummers began to beat drums in jubilation. The Brahmins began to recite Vedic hymns, and all the devotees of the Lord began to chant the words Jai, Jai. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this kind of starts a bit of a new pastime right after this, which we will leave for next week. Actually, the week after that. Because next week, I want to go and dive into Garga Samhita and see what Garga Samhita says about the passing of Agasura. We did this with Bakasura and Vatsasura, and we learned some really, really cool tidbits of information about them. So I think we will stay with this pastime a little bit more. But imagine, everyone was jubilating. Imagine if today was a day of celebration. Why? Because Krishna killed Agasura. He saved his friends. He killed this demon, which was 8 miles long. And he did it with nothing more than just expanding his bodily nature. That's it. How wonderful is our Krishna? Imagine if we thought Krishna was saved from certain death and all of his friends were saved from certain death. We should be celebrating. We should be making a party. Have your favorite foods. Offer them to Krishna. Have an amazing time of it all. Because Krishna is safe. And because Krishna has saved all of his friends. And because Krishna is saving us every day. We can celebrate. I think today should be a day of rip-roaring celebration. It should not be that these pastimes happened a long time ago and then never again. Today is a day. Today is the day to celebrate. He is known as Agari. Agari Krishna, the killer of Aga. So this Agari Krishna, we can celebrate him today. He has so many unlimited names. And within all of his names, he's invested all of his unlimited potencies. So says our dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so this we can celebrate. We can celebrate that it has taken us countless lifetimes of austerities to come to this point where we want to be Krishna's friends. We can celebrate the fact that Krishna's friends are not ordinary, and so therefore none of you are ordinary. And we can celebrate that Krishna is finding unlimited ways to save us all, every day, every moment. And so no day is normal. There's always a cause for celebration in Krishna consciousness. And so Srila Prabhupada would often say, every day is a festival. Every day can be the new year, because we've gotten a new lease on life. A day that was not promised has come to us. That is amazing. Krishna has somehow arranged all of who we are as we were sleeping so that we could wake up to this day. Many people will not have woken up to this day, but we are here. So we can celebrate that, and we can celebrate each other. We are one day closer to seeing Krishna face to face, because it's promised. We're going to do it. We're going to make it. On the strength of the words of Srila Prabhupada, on the strength of the words of our spiritual teachers, our gurus, our Sangha, our Krishna, we're going to make it. Krishna says in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita that one who knows the nature of his appearance and activities goes to see him face to face. We are one day closer. We're almost there. So thank you for being with me. One of the most amazing things is that we'll find that Krishna, when he killed Bakasura, he didn't change himself. When Krishna kills Vatsasura, he doesn't actually change himself. He exhibits a lot of strength, but he doesn't change himself. When he's in the mouth of Bakasura, what does he do? He heats up his mouth and gives him some heartburn with his effulgence, yeah? But he doesn't change his body. Krishna here has changed his body. Why? Well, Krishna decided to change his body, and we'll see this as Krishna continues to kill demons in Vrindavan. He doesn't actually change himself. This is one rare time when he does. Question is, why? Well, he does it because no one can see him. All of his friends and the cows are unconscious, lifeless. So no one can see him do it. He doesn't like to change his form because then his friends will think he's different. So he often doesn't change his form. He'll exhibit lots of strength. And whenever he exhibits this strength, a lot of the friends will attribute it to something else. Krishna is strong because the demigods have given him all kinds of benedictions. Krishna is strong because he eats his mother's cooking every day. Krishna is strong because the dust of Vrindavan gives him the strength. Krishna is strong because we all are. We're no less strong than Krishna. Krishna is strong because he's been empowered by some demigod or Lord Vishnu, something. But we are no less than Krishna. So Krishna doesn't actually like to change his bodily features because he doesn't want his friends to think of him differently. If we notice, we'll get to a point where there is an incredible forest fire. Krishna says, I will save you from this forest fire. His friends are really in trouble. But he tells them, first close your eyes. Krishna doesn't usually like to exhibit the things that make him so different. So Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like undeniably the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He kind of hides those things from his friends because he just wants to be their friend. Krishna is more concerned with being our friend than he is with being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is more concerned with upholding his promises to his people than he is with societal norms or anything else. He is more concerned with being there for us. And so this is one rare time where Krishna actually changes his bodily features because no one can see him. When we get to that swallowing the forest fire, I'll tell you another reason why Krishna tells all the boys to close their eyes. And it's one of the sweetest reasons I've heard. And spoiler alert, like it has to do with he's afraid his friends will tell on him for eating something which is not food. So Krishna is an abode of sweetness, and so many of his reasons have to do with him not being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Occasionally Krishna will have a reason that has to do with that. In this regard, once Krishna was playing with all of his friends and they were wrestling. The rules of the game are, if you lose, you have to give the winner a piggyback ride. Right? Carry the winner on your shoulders and on your back. Krishna was playing with his friends and he lost. So the friends say, okay, Krishna, now you have to give us our piggyback ride. Krishna says, no, I don't. They say, yes, you do. These are the rules of the game. What do you mean you don't? Krishna says, I don't. They say, well, why? If you say it's because you're the son of a king, well then, look, all of us have royalty somewhere in our families. We are not accepting this excuse from you today. And he says, well, but my father is the king of Braj. He's like, just because your father has a few more cows than the rest of us, you think that excuses you from having to follow the rules of the game? Krishna, you have to follow the rules. He said, I don't, because I'm God. All of the boys look at Krishna and then they commence to laugh. What do you mean you're God? How can you be God? You eat dirt. What are you saying? Like, no, but I am God. Like, you are not God. And furthermore, I'm waiting for my piggyback ride. Anytime you're ready. He says, I am God and I'll show you. Fine, show us. Krishna tells the boys, close your eyes. They dutifully all close their eyes. Krishna says, now open them. And they open their eyes. they're no longer within the forests of Vrindavan. They find themselves in a celestial abode filled with foam of the sea and all of these different, there's like clouds and rainbows and everything is bright, and there are columns made of marble, and there are palaces, and there are all kinds of people with 4 arms, and they have bluish complexions, and they're wearing crowns, and there's Vedic hymns coming from every which direction, and they can't figure out what's happening. And before them, they see this great massive personality, and he's got arms and crowns and heads and faces, and they're thinking, where are we? And when all of the boys become afraid, what they usually do is they don't whistle, they sing a little song. And whenever they sing a little song, anyone in Vrindavan, whenever they sing about Krishna. And so all of the boys are standing there, and then they begin to sing because that makes them feel safe. And that reminds them of home, and so they sing about their friend. Hey Gopal, Radha Krishna, Govinda, Govinda. And all of a sudden they hear from all of these people, hey, only proper Vedic hymns are sung here, none of those village songs. Sing proper Vedic hymns or else. And the boys sing, we don't know any Vedic hymns, we're only like 6. I don't know what you're talking about. And now they've been ordered by these big guards to sing these songs, and they get very much afraid, and they think, oh, we want to go home. Oh, Gopal, we want to go home. We don't want to be here anymore. We don't even know where we are. Oh, Gopal, we want to go home. And finally, they hear the voice of their Gopal, their friend, that says, okay, close your eyes. And now they very quickly close their eyes again. And Gopal says, open them. They all open their eyes, and they're back in their familiar forest of Vrindavan, looking around at the trees and the birds and the monkeys and the swiftly moving Jamuna and all of their familiar things, and their Gopal is standing before them with a flute and a stick, sometimes yogurt, in his hands, with his beautiful smile and his cowherd boy turban. No longer are there all of these large beings with 4 arms, and they all look at each other. And they say, okay, Krishna, today you don't have to carry us, but tomorrow, if you break the rules, we won't play with you anymore. You have to follow the rules tomorrow. Krishna says, all right, tomorrow I'll follow the rules. For now, let's continue playing. And with that incident put out of their minds, they resolve to simply play with their friend. This is our Krishna, who is more concerned with being their friend than he is with being the supreme personality of Godhead. How incredibly fortunate are we? We get to associate with this Krishna. We get to see this Krishna. This is God. God who does not want to be God. God who just wants to be our friend. So, we can remember, just like those cowherd boys, when we are ever unsure, we're feeling unfamiliar, all we have to do is call out, oh Gopal, I want to go home. I don't know what this place is. This material world is filled with things that I know nothing about. I'm unsure, it's all unfamiliar, and I'm very afraid. Gopal, I want to go home. And eventually, we will hear our friend call back to us, okay, just close your eyes. And just like that, in the blink of an eye, we'll be back home with everything that we know and love. So thank you for being with me and taking this trip, this Manasa Yatra, this mind pilgrimage into Sri Vrindavan Dham. Next week, we will continue on throughout the forests of Vrindavan. We'll hear more about this Agasura. We'll find out more about his backstory, find out how this villain became a villain. and we'll find out more about our eternal home. We will try and help each other remember what we've been missing. We've got some spiritual amnesia, but we're going to see through it. See there? It's the name of the podcast, See Through. So we'll be back, same time, same place next week. And we'll be heading more into these beautiful adventures with our supreme most best friend. So thank you all for being with me. If you can't come at 10:30, join in whenever you can. It's a party. So please tell your friends, bring a nice warm beverage, and let's all dive into the sweet, sweet pastimes of our dearest Krishna. Krishna Bhakt ki jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Shri Krishna Balaram ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, which is a fancy way of saying thank you all for being here. All glories to all of you. Cannot wait to be with you next time. Shri Shri Radha Govinda Dev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Wishing you a great Monday. Have a celebration. Krishna killed Agasura. This is a time for a festival. I'm expecting to see all of the internet postings of all of the festivals, and I will soon put up a link to the YouTube video of the Krishna puppet show of the killing of Agasura. Best Monday ever. See you all soon, friends.